It's a great book charting self-discovery, finding one's purpose, and charting love and loss. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Read the Right Thing Book Reviews. I'm Eric. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you're doing well. The purpose of this channel is to help you find books to read. So after I read a book, I do a quick review and let you know my thoughts on it and whether this book was the right thing for me. In the past few years, I've done quite a few reviews of biographies and memoirs by musicians. I've even thought about possibly rebranding this channel to just be about rock and roll memoirs. Or maybe creating an entire separate channel where I just review books about music. I enjoy most rock and roll books because they are written by musicians who already have a knack for writing and storytelling. I find books written by athletes or businessmen to be sort of bland and one-dimensional, while musicians write more dynamic and honest memoirs. Which brings me to this book, Broken Music by Sting. And it's got kind of a cool double cover. Here's Sting as a child, and on the back, here's Sting as an adult. Sting is an English musician, former lead singer of the Police, and now solo artist. I picked up this book at a used bookstore that was closing nearby. And I won't lie to you, honestly, I'm not that big of a Sting fan. I haven't listened to most of his music. I enjoy the Police and a few of his solo songs, but I wouldn't call myself a massive fan by any means. Growing up, my dad used to play a few songs from his album called A Brand New Day, and I always really liked those ones. I just haven't put in the time and really listened to all of Sting's music. However, I did enjoy this memoir. Kind of unexpectedly, the story begins in the rainforest of Brazil on a winter night in 1987. It is a winter's night in Rio de Janeiro, 1987. It is raining and the boulevard in front of the Copacabana Hotel is deserted. The road is slick and shining in the light of the street lamps. My wife, Trudy, and I are sheltering beneath an umbrella, while high above our heads, two seagulls wheel recklessly in the wind, and the sea is a roaring threat in the darkness. A small car pulls up to the curbside. There are two figures silhouetted in the front seat, and an opened rear door beckons us inside. A series of discreet phone calls have secured us an invitation to a religious ceremony in a church somewhere in the jungles that surround the great city. Our drivers, a man and a woman, tell us only that the church is located about an hour and a half from the Copacabana, and that we will be looked after, and we shouldn't worry. The church, while nominally Christian, is the home of a syncretic religious group that uses as its core sacrament an ancient medicine derived from plant materials known as ayahuasca, and it is said to induce extraordinary and profound visions. It is now raining heavily as we head south, and a massive lightning storm strobes above the mountains that surround the city, followed by the deep rolling percussion of distant thunder. Trudy and I sink back into our seats, excited and a little apprehensive, wondering what the night holds in store. The driver is intent upon the road in front of us. I'm seated directly behind him. He has a large head atop wide, athletic shoulders, and when he turns toward us, an intelligent and aquiline face, framed in wire-rimmed spectacles and untidy brown hair. His companion, an unattractive young woman with long dark curls and a wide Brazilian smile, turns to us reassuringly and asks if we are comfortable. We both begin to nod mechanically, clearly nervous but not wanting to admit to each other or to our hosts. So he sets his stage, and Sting is about to embark on a guided ayahuasca meditation outside of Rio. He writes the book as if he's having a flashback in the middle of this ayahuasca meditation to his childhood. However, that literary device kind of gets lost in the middle of the book, and he just continues to tell his childhood journey. He goes back to the Brazilian rainforest occasionally, but in the middle of the book, that kind of gets lost somewhere, and you honestly forget that that's where you started. I'm not sure if I liked the use of the flashback during the ayahuasca meditation or not. It gave Sting a chance to flex his writing a little bit when describing his experiences and also describing the Brazilian rainforest. Sting's description of nature and the Brazilian rainforest were beautiful. And generally, I like the narrative technique of starting in the middle, or what the Latin and Greeks called in media res. But the use of the flashback, it felt too similar to the satirical movie Dewey Cox Walk Hard. That movie starring John C. Reilly satirizes the modern biopic of musicians like Walk the Line and Ray. Sting's memoir was published in 2005, the same year as Walk the Line came out, and 2 years before Dewey Cox came out. Probably at the time, the use of the flashback wasn't as polarizing as it is today. Now, anytime I see a novel or a movie use this similar flashback, I just think of Dewey Cox. It didn't take away my enjoyment of the rest of the book, but it's just something I noticed and kind of chuckled at. There's been so many rock and roll movies, from Johnny Cash to Freddie Mercury. They all use the same literary device of he's about to go play a concert and all of a sudden he's reflecting to his childhood, which is why Dewey Cox kind of made fun of it. But it's also an effective literary device and it doesn't distract too much. Broken Music is a very introspective memoir. Sting is one of the most influential and popular musicians, I would say, of the last 50 years. And this book offers insight into his formative years of growing up in the industrial town of Wallsend, England. Sting writes about working for his father's milk delivery company, unfortunately discovering his mother's infidelity, and embarking on a musical journey that would take him from small-town pubs to orchestra pits and to even cruise ships. It's a rags to riches story. Sting, who was born Gordon Sumner, really desired to make a career playing music early on. This book shows the struggles and the journey towards reaching that goal. He details his years growing up and the years leading up to joining the band The Police. He was a brilliant student, but he was tall, lanky, and kind of awkward. He was sort of an outcast, which seems to be a common theme among musicians. Like almost every musician at that age, he discovered rock and roll through the Beatles and Elvis. But growing up in England, he also really developed an appreciation for jazz music. I really enjoyed the literary quality of this memoir. Sting's lyrical prose really captures the nuances of his experiences. Growing up in America, here in the Southwest, I can't even really comprehend what it would have been like to grow up in England at that time. So this was really a window into looking into that time period. So it was very interesting to learn of his childhood, the similarities that we all have, as well as the differences. He emphasizes his personal struggles, being the awkward kid in school, and having complicated family and romantic relationships. He's deeply honest, and he writes about everything, even his discovery of masturbation. All of the small victories, big losses, and complicated relationships build to him becoming the musician that he would become. It's a great book charting self-discovery, finding one's purpose, and charting love and loss. He really had a complicated relationship with his parents. And both of his parents passed away when he was relatively young. And he really works through that complicated relationship. If you are looking for the dirt on the Police, then this is not the book for you. But if you are interested in a raw, coming-of-age journey of a talented musician, then you should check this one out. I think this book can appeal to both fans and non-fans like myself. Broken Music by Sting was the right thing for me. I'm a big fan of rock and roll memoirs. I just love music. I love learning about musicians. And I love learning about other people's experiences, whether they're a musician or not. Have you read Broken Music by Sting? If you have, let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Thanks for watching, and as always, read the right thing.